We have seen companies try to implement every monetization system under the sun, whether it's microtransactions, loot boxes, battle passes, all the different editions that games come in now, that paywall content, and much more. And you can bet your ass that they're going to try to come up with new ideas. And one idea that's kind of been in and out of circulation that companies have been testing the waters on is in-game ads. We have seen this happen numerous times, and every time it was met with backlash. So recall that once upon a time, Street Fighter V implemented all these in-game advertisements about, some of the upcoming events and whatnot, and a lot of people felt it was disruptive enough as to call this out. Backlash for that was bad enough that they had to put out a statement apologizing for featuring sponsored content the way they did, like in loading screens and on characters and on stages and stuff. But worse than that was the way 2K did it in their sports titles like NBA 2K, where they full on had loading screen ads where they showed advertisements while you waited for a match to begin, with plenty of people fearing that this is being done in such a way where you have to watch and finish ads. Like, even if loading is finished, the game might still force you to spend extra time watching the ad before it takes you into the game. It's kind of the fear, though 2K has come out and said that that's not what they did, but you can bet your ass that they certainly have ideas like that, if in the hopes that they can normalize such things. And so there's an example right here of what that looks like, of NBA 2K21 advertising VR headsets like Oculus here. And this is mid-game. You know what I mean? Like before a game begins. And then beyond that, you've got EA, who've attempted to delve into that realm through their UFC games. You can see right here, UFC 3 ads that advertise the boys in numerous aspects of the games, including like this stuff kind of popping up in the middle of a match. UFC 4 was also similar. You can see this is like during gameplay when this stuff kind of pops up out of nowhere. And it's something that is deemed disruptive enough where people did not find this acceptable. And so you can see like Reddit posts like these that highlighted this got, over 100,000 upvotes, and it created quite the backlash that forced EA to apologize. But then, not too long ago, on May of 2024, EA came out saying that they're toying with the idea of implementing in-game ads again, despite that whole fiasco, despite the apology that they issued, where they said that they're going to be more considerate with this stuff. They said during an earnings call reported back then that advertising has an opportunity to be a meaningful driver of growth for us. We have teams internally in the company right now looking at how we do very thoughtful implementations inside of our game experiences. There's no such thing as a thoughtful implementation of in-game ads, because the motive behind those is to drive companies' growth rather than to enhance the gameplay experience. They're disruptive to the gameplay experience. There's no way to implement those without that being the case. And so this is just selfishness on the part of EA. And so people have come out and mocked the idea of in-game ads that EA might implement with stuff like this. You've got a Jedi game with an ad that kind of pops up in the middle. Obviously, I don't know if it would be implemented to that extent, but that kind of mockery, I think, is justified, garnering millions of views and hundreds of thousands of likes. And so why do I bring all of this up? Well, because Valve has just done gaming a favor with their Steam platform banning in-game ads. And what is effective about that is because Steam is by far the largest digital storefront of PC games, because it is such a significant part of how games are sold, if Valve implements some kind of ban through Steam, there's a likelihood that that's going to become more normalized, because then that means that in order for companies to be able to sell their games to as many audience members as possible, to as many customers as possible, they have to be able to release them on as many platforms as possible. And they can't have versions of games that are different depending on which platform. They want to have everything as unified as possible. And so if Steam, being such an important storefront for many games, bans in-game ads, it may very well be this scenario where a lot of companies will not be incentivized, will be discouraged from implementing in-game ads because they want to release their games on Steam. But if they implement in-game ads, then they won't be able to release the game on Steam, which might lead to their sales suffering, and that might be more trouble than in-game ads are worth. So this was first noticed by this news outlet, Gaming on Linux, where they highlighted a page that you can go to Steam right now and check out, and it talks about advertising on Steam and its rules surrounding that. Now, people thought that this is something that was brand new, that was newly implemented, but SteamDB noted via the following Blue Sky post that Valve has created a dedicated page describing that in-game ads or ad-based revenue models are not allowed in Steam games. This has been reported as a new policy, but this has been the case for at least 5 years, as seen on the pricing page. There just wasn't a separate page. So this is something that was kind of buried deep enough that people didn't know that Valve had such rules and regulations about in-game ads, at least, over the course of the last 5 years. But the fact that they're kind of implementing a dedicated page now that's easier to access just means that more people are finding out about this, and it means that Valve really is taking this side of things really seriously, and it's something that we can likely expect them continue to implement over the long term, which is fantastic. It helps the standardization of kind of discouraging this kind of monetization model being a commonplace in video games. So what does Steam highlight in terms of what can and cannot be implemented when it comes to advertising on Steam games? It says right here, Steam does not contain any paid advertising, nor are advertising models supported in games distributed on Steam. Now, here are some things that are supported, like games may contain real brands, products, personalities, etc. as part of gameplay, provided such portrayals are not disruptive. So something like Death Stranding, which featured Monster Energy drink on those cans that you have in your room, or, the AMC Ride hologram that pops up when you take a dump. AMC Ride being a show that features Norman Reedus, who stars in the game. I guess stuff like that is not something that Steam is honing in on and banning because it doesn't disrupt gameplay enough, and you're not required to watch those ads. You can skip those cutscenes anytime you want, and it's not this recurrent monetization model. And then you've got cross promotions that are allowed, cross promotional activities on Steam, such as bundles, sales events, and more. So, if Assassin's Creed Valhalla advertises that Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming up and coming out soon in-game, stuff like that is allowed. Or if a publisher wants to advertise in one of their games that some of their other games are on sale, or there's a bundle situation going on and there's just stuff that they're advertising that says, hey, there's value for you here as a customer where you can get more stuff for less money, then stuff like that seems like that's okay. However, under no circumstances is it okay to charge other developers to participate in a bundle or to sell access to a sale page or other page on Steam. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla can't advertise, Death Stranding if Kojima pays Assassin's Creed Valhalla to do so and make that a whole business model. That's not allowed on Steam. Now, what is not supported on Steam, this is the stuff that will get you banned from Steam, is developers should not utilize paid advertising as a business model in their games, such as requiring players to watch or otherwise engage with advertising in order to play, or getting gameplay behind advertising. You'll need to remove those elements before shipping games on Steam. So that's the kind of stuff you might find on mobile games, where you'll watch an ad if you don't pay for the product or subscribe to it or whatever. It'll kind of have you access the product for free so long as you're willing to watch those ads. And so they'll gate some stuff behind ads, and that's how they make some recurrent monetization through you. Even if you're not directly paying them, your time and your kind of viewing the ads is getting them paid through companies who put up those ads. That stuff is not allowed on Steam, and that's the kind of stuff that EA is pushing for. That's the kind of stuff that 2K try to do by implementing, frickin' The Boys and UFC, or by implementing ads for Meta's VR headsets inside NBA 2K, stuff that is not relevant to the actual game, stuff that's real ads, and stuff that they did monetize from. They made a profit, or they made some kind of revenue off of promoting those products in their games, and that kind of perpetuated this business model that they try to go for, that they backed away from because the backlash got so bad. But now we're seeing Steam come in and say this is not allowed on Steam. If you want to sell your products on Steam, the biggest platform on PC that will draw tons of audience members to your game, you'll have to get rid of that stuff. And so that means that companies will just go, let's just not include them at all so we can ship the same product across all platforms, including the coveted Steam platform, which a lot of PC players and users go to find games. And so this is ultimately advantageous to the entire gaming community, and Valve is most definitely doing the entire gaming community a favor by being such a big part of the games industry and making a stance on that front that will normalize the absence of in-game ads. This not supported section continues. Developers should not use advertising as a way to provide value to players, such as giving players a reward for watching or engaging with advertising in their game. So it further ties into this idea of like you can't use your game as an advertising platform to monetize. And so one of the ways that it might get players to watch those ads is to say, hey, if you watch this ad, you'll get some currency. If you watch this ad, you'll get some in-game rewards. And while people watch those ads, they might be able to, make some revenue from companies based on the number of people who watch those ads. You're not allowed to do that. And that means that all those plans that EA had that they announced in 2024, where they want to thoughtfully implement in-game ads, that stuff may be a lot more precarious to implement if they want to have their games out on Steam. And that's something that EA has kind of been pushing for more, because a lot of companies are trying to release their games on their own launcher, on their own digital storefront, so that they can control every aspect of how that works, and so they can make 100% of the profit or 100% of the revenue from sales. But Steam still just holds that dominance. It is just the most feature-complete launcher and platform, and it works well, and people are happy with Steam. And so a lot of developers are finding that releasing their games on Steam is more advantageous than releasing stuff on their own launcher, on their own platform. And if they want to play along nicely with Steam, they have to not have in-game ads in their games, which is awesome. And finally, developers should not charge other developers for access to Steam features. So you can't, through in-game ads, kind of work out deals with other developers and other games to advertise all their other stuff. It's pretty straightforward stuff, but it is stuff that is very encouraging. We've already seen too much crap normalized, like your traditional microtransactions models, which should be called macro transactions at this point. We're seeing kind of loot boxes still be a big part of mobile games in particular, but a lot of free-to-play games tend to implement loot boxes, and the whole idea is to get that dopamine release to influence people to keep spending money on these loot boxes and get them addicted to that stuff. Battle Pass, compared to loot boxes, it's better, but those models can still vary in terms of how shady they are and how greedy they are. Early access bullshit, pre-order bonuses, different editions, all that stuff is very commonplace. We don't need one more thing added to the fray in the form of in-game ads that will quite literally interrupt your experience as you're having it. That is just something that a lot of people have already expressed their disdain about, and I don't foresee that being something that's going to get normalized because of just how much hate there is surrounding it. It's kind of like how NFTs and developers or publishers kind of push towards implementing those. That died off very quickly because of how ridiculed and just the negative press that NFTs brought. I feel like in-game ads, it's the same thing, but in case companies are getting this bright idea of like trying to like inchworm their way towards normalizing them, Steam saying fuck no to that will go a long way in making them go, well, that, if we implement these things, we won't be able to sell games on Steam. Do we want that? Is that worth the potential losses of customers on the PC platform to implement in-game ads? And the answer is most likely no. It's probably not worth that kind of potential loss of like spreading your game to a wide audience base. And so I just, the internet is praising this particular ban. A lot of people are super happy. While Valve and Steam haven't had a perfect history in terms of how they handle that platform, there is stuff like this that I do have to give them kudos for in terms of some of the more consumer-friendly aspects. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Valve banning in-game ads, and this kind of starting to being reported en masse because of that side of things being more prominently featured through this page that kind of breaks it all down. What do you think of this policy? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.